Annette, and done is
Hello.
better than perfect with my hairdo. So this is Lorilet Monegro, and
Hi.
we are Soul Code. So she said, "What do you want to talk about?" I said, "Let's talk about stupidity."
I have no comment. I said, "What?" And then she's right on record.
So
Oh,
I just see a lot of things out there today in the market. Like everybody's trying to monopolize on everything. And, we spoke before about social media really just not being social anymore. And everybody, it's really not. It's like, if you go on social media and you look up a friend or something based on what that friend does, all of a sudden you got 300 ads in your Facebook about the same thing. And I'm like,
mhm.
what's going on with my feed? And where's all my peeps?
They're
And
feeding you.
I was like, what is going on? So it just kind of feels very off for me. So and
Mm.
I see some really cool stuff on social media, but I see some just really, really stupid stuff on social media. I was talking to my girlfriend before. So um I saw someone post, and mind you, she's been on a weight loss journey. I can't even tell you how long. Because I came online during COVID, and she was on that weight loss journey then. And no disrespect intended, um, because everybody gets it when they get it. But she was advertising this pill that does everything. It fixes your gut, reduces the inflammation. It does just it balances your hormones and everything. And that's what I mean about stupidity, because we are the front facing portion of our business. So you can't be marketing a product and you are the total opposite of that product,
Mm.
because it goes to say how well that product works, right? So if it's balancing your hormones and fixing your gut and helps you lose weight and helps you do all that stuff, then why aren't you that picture, right? So, I mean, how credible does it make you look? So I did a little short today about a skunk and with holding a bottle that says fixes everything. And at the end of it, it says if it doesn't smell right, it probably isn't. You know, because I want people to see, like, you know, not so much the irony, but some of the things they just say out there and they do out there just doesn't even align with them. It looks like they're even uncomfortable portraying that. So and I think if you run a business, or whatever you're out here doing, even if you have a non for profit or whatever, you really have to hone in on what makes you happy and what brings you joy, you know? So, I mean, I must look like a crazy person between the books and the music and all this other stuff, but I know where that vision's going, right? Because I've been working in all health my whole life, right? So I'm doing nursing, but I've been helping with all different kinds of health, right? So I'm pulling that piece together for what family health means for me.
Mhm.
And I started bringing in the children because that's where it starts, with the education, with the teaching children how to care for their bodies, how to regulate their bodies, how to eat well, and stuff like that. So I see that vision, but other people must be, where's she going now? Now she's doing kids? What's wrong with that girl? She don't have enough adults, right? So, and and I get that. So we don't know where people's visions are going all the time, right? So this is part of her journey. Maybe that's helping her on her journey. But people that are looking at that don't see that. They say, you say fix everything, you're not fixed, right? So um and that goes for credibility, and it hurts us sometimes. So if, like, just like the person who's selling something that takes is supposed to take away joint pain, and someone's been on it, you know 6 months, and they don't have any relief yet, and they're like, oh, it could take up to a year. it it feels more like they're trying to sell that product for that year than their concerns with you achieving pain management or pain reduction, right? So,
Mhm.
and that to me seems like the old model of health that people should be moving away from. The managing symptoms instead of curative action. So what's your take on this, Miss Lorilet?
Hmm. Well, I think that the issue that doesn't allow, I guess, for better products or better outcomes out there, it has to do with authenticity, right? When a person is not being authentic, they tend to almost camouflage into whatever the next trend is. And that has to do with not having clarity and not being grounded in the aspects of what their product, their belief system is for what they're selling. And I think that that's why you see people go into all these trends and fads and all these different almost like morphing, right? Like camouflaging to fit into whatever is going on at the moment. Unfortunately, it's becoming actually more of competition in terms for sales. So this is why you see people just like, okay, giving you the quick fix, like these miracle pills, right? Which if life were that easy, then we all just pop a pill and be ready, right? But that's not how it goes because we have multiple systems running the body, for example, in terms of health. Um, but also we have the emotional piece, right? Which is something that you can't quite say it's located here, right? It's not a very finite, discrete location that you can say, I'm going to exercise it and blast it, and it's going to be trimmed and it's going to go away or whatever. And
Yeah.
so they trigger those points as they're advertising all of these creative ideas because they're literally creative ideas. Many of these things are pseudoscience. There's no real backing for what they're selling. And I think that the issue also is not only the lack of authenticity, but also people's lack of desire to go and learn more on their own, and get clear on what they're after, quick fixing everything. And
Yeah.
it's the failure to do the work. It goes back to that idea of like, okay, what must I do? What does it take? When we ask ourselves the question, well, what would it take? What does it take? If we start getting serious about that, like, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, so what would it take? I want to smell delicious. Okay, well, what does that take? I want to have great oral health. Well, what does that take? I want to be really knowledgeable. Well, what does it take? If we really come back to the idea, what does it take? Then we actually can find solutions. And our brain, because it really wants to help us, it actually gets into a supportive role.
Hmm.
And that supportive role is the best that we can assign it, right? When we're trying to understand, but also to make changes. I feel like, unfortunately, we're not necessarily using our brains well as a society lately. At least I say this based on the outcomes that we're getting, right? I'm
Hmm.
not saying this as a judgment of someone being better or worse, but rather the outcomes that we're having as a collective society is a symptom of the decisions we're making. And so that tells me we are not necessarily thinking through our choices. We're not really being, the old time thinkers that would make, like the Colosseum and all that. Like we have scientific discoveries and technologies and all that. But we should wonder, wow, what did it take those people back then, 3,000 years, that they were able to figure out such things without all of the technology that we have today? And why is it that we're advancing but somehow seem behind?
We're stagnated, and a lot of it, I like that you brought up that emotional piece because The emotional piece is a big part of this. So even if someone, let's say there was a pill that would just change everything and help people lose that desired weight, like because half the world is going after those Wegovy shots and all that other stuff. Um, that is not necessarily a cure, even if it does help them lose weight. And by that I mean, we're not talking about just the side effects. We have to remember that this pill was made for diabetes, right? So, for people that had trouble making insulin and things like that, right? So, what is this doing to the body? That's number one, right? A lot of side effects that people are having, nausea and stuff like that, vomiting, those are minor. That's a side effect of most drugs. But it's forcing them to shut off their hunger cues, right? It's telling them they're not hungry. So it's going against the body's natural design. So
Mhm.
in essence, it's taking away a lot of socialization because a lot of socialization happens around food, right? So
It can. It can.
most
Depends.
most most food happens around socialization and parties and things like that. But it's also not teaching them a healthier way to eat. It's just taking away the appetite. But you cannot stay on that medication for the rest of your life. So when, and if you're not dealing with the emotional component, if you are an emotional eater or, a stress eater or a binge eater, or you just never learn to eat well, then you are going to revert back to that when you go off that medication because those same triggers that you didn't deal with or learn to manage are going to pop up. So it might not come back all right at once, but it might be 20 pounds this year, then you're 40 pounds the next year, and it gets harder and harder to lose. So, I think there should be more education about the nutrition and the lifestyle than just the pill. I think that,
Agree. Agree.
but I
Yes.
think that since COVID, when they saw, the big pharmaceuticals saw that people were moving towards health, they said, well, we can't get them with sickness anymore. Let's move over here into the health arena and start giving them some of those things we developed decades ago. Because now
Hmm.
that now we have to, right? So,
Yeah. Because
so
people were waking up.
yeah, so that's kind of where that's going. But people aren't. It's taking away people's empowerment, right? It is not it's not helping their self-esteem, and self-esteem is a big part of why people get into those situations. They lose themselves, they feel like something's missing, they become those overachievers, those people pleasers, those yes people, because they feel like they're missing something inside of them. A lot of those generational stories, that trauma from childhood, whatever it is that got them where they are, because it's not even getting them to where they are. When people are stuck in that situation, it's the environment they're still in that is playing into that too, right? So it's the now people too. So they have to kind of reinvent themselves to the environment. Like maybe it's their spouse is, patronizing about weight loss or something, right? And um she doesn't know how to deal with that in the right way. Or maybe it's the wife doing it to the husband, right? But they do have to learn how to do that conflict resolution. So when you talk about weight loss and when you talk about better health, it's about getting those things out of your environment that are attacking that healthy person, right? So if it's the overachieving, if it's the people pleasing, if it's the people that are not supportive, or you not being able to put yourself first or stand up for yourself and say, no, I'm sorry, I can't cook dinner. I gotta run for 20 minutes with my girlfriends. But if you're okay with late dinner, I'll do it then. Whatever it is that you got to work out, but sometimes people can't do that by themselves, you know and these are things I work on with my clients where they don't understand how they're going to manage all these things. And you start with, can you do 10 minutes of this? Let's incorporate this into your day, right? little micromanagement techniques that they can put into their daily life, right? You know, people that sit all day, getting up and doing those 1 minute exercises, those little stretches, so they're not sitting all day and increasing their chance of obesity by 30%, right? So,
Mhm.
little things like that. But it is about wanting that change. And I think that everybody's claiming they want change, but nothing's changing.
Mhm.
Right? It's like if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same exact results, right? The only difference is going to be the day or the amount of money you spend trying to achieve that goal. But if you put down all those quick fixes and all those things and just physically learns how to eat and take better care of you, like you always say, what does this body need right now? You
Mhm.
know, I mean, I always have to do that. You know, sometimes I feel like, I'm not aligned and I'll say, okay, what is my body saying? What do I need
Mhm.
right now?
Mhm.
You know, do I need to get up? Do I need to walk? Do I need to ground myself? Right. So people have to start looking into that, but people are so fascinated with this exterior world and looking at what everybody else has.
Mhm.
And I think that where I was going for this, and I totally got lost with what I was my thought process. But because of all those generational stories and what the world has become with the look at me on social media, everybody trying to up everybody. And that's really what they're trying to do, you know. I hit 6 figures. Well, I hit 7 figures. Well, and I did it in 1 month and I did it in 3 days, right?
Mhm.
So all this nonsense kind of people that are already having that low self-esteem or feeling like they're not really mastering their goals or achieving their goals look at these other people and start to feel even less than, because people are making this seem like it's the norm and it's not the norm,
Mhm.
right? It's not the norm for people to come online and make 6 figures or 7 figures, right? It's just not. So you got people out there that are trying to start businesses and they feel like they're failing, or all these people popping up saying that, oh, I raised 6 kids and I started a business and I'm doing fantastic, like it's an easy thing. And
Mhm.
instead of talking about the real in it, like I have 6 kids, this was really hard for me to start. I
Mhm.
had some luck with it in the beginning, or I didn't, but I kept at it. You got to keep work. People need that real because everybody out there is making everything seem very easy. Just show up,
Mhm.
and that's all it takes. And I think we're sending a very bad message to someone, to that person that's hurting and that is stuck in that place of
Mhm.
self-loathing and self-doubt. And we're constantly bombarding them with messages, or pictures with big boobs and skinny women, or uh, like that's the norm, and it's not the norm, especially not in
Mhm.
America today. That's definitely not the norm. The norm is obesity in America,
Mhm.
right? So to be flashing those things and making people, I'm just not okay with it. And I think as a community, we have to come together and start helping each other. So, I mean, I give out so much free stuff on social media. I'm basically telling people how to do it, right? And
Mhm.
people, most people say, does this chick even sell anything? Right? Does she even sell anything? But I think that that's where health starts when we start to lift each other up and
Mhm.
help each other. It doesn't mean I don't think I deserve to get paid. But if you can look at one reel and see how this combines this food, then maybe you start to tune into more things like that. Not just mine, other people with more of those healthy things, and start getting an idea of what you're doing and what you should be doing, right? And that's how we heal as a community.
Uh-huh.
Thoughts?
Okay. Well, what happens is that, you know, people seem to not have that level of valuation when they are in fight or flight response, which is where most people are living in America. And, I think that it takes a very highly self-regulated and aware human being to be able to tap into the connection of the inner knowing of what they need. When people are desperate, which is what tends to happen when people are like in this condition where they're just looking at the end game of what they wish, right? It's a form of wishful thinking. And so they're buying into that final outcome from anybody that sells it at a good price that they can afford.
Mm,
And so I think that while what you say right now is something that should be in terms of what we would call a morally responsible collective society, but we aren't a collective society. We don't believe in collectivism to begin with. We don't believe that each other is a support to one another. So the issue is that that is not the society we've created. We've created a fend for yourself society, and we are just living the outcomes of all of those past decisions, including where we are right now financially. People want to blame the current president. People want to blame everybody and their mother, except all of the decisions that have led to the moment in time that we're experiencing. And, I just find it fascinating. To me, is very interesting. Um, I also think that we have to really start working within, not so much on the out, too much focus on the out. I personally spend a lot of time thinking about me, what I need, because I
mm.
understand that my time in this world is finite. So I'm not here chasing 500,000 things. I am not. I'm not interested in 500,000 things. I'm interested in very few things rather well. Those few things well. And I don't want 20 things. I'd rather have five amazing things, and those are the five amazing things. Take it or leave it. And that's really kind of like the way I am seeing things. I want to like be very intentional. I think we just have way too much distraction. We have way too much going on. And with AI, all of these things have just skyrocketed, amplified to such an exponential degree. I don't even know where we're going to end with this. I don't even know because
It's creating
every
a
day,
stupid society, is what it's doing.
every day, I feel like it's amplifying and amplifying at such gigantic steps that I really think it's almost like we're entering a vortex and we will lose ourselves, not because AI is bad or good, rather how our mental state is to be able to consume and produce outputs and be able to regulate our own selves through what we're generating. And I think there's a mismatch in terms of how that intelligence within us versus the external intelligence that we've created artificially can really come together to be supportive. It can only become supportive in as much as you are the aware party. And I don't know that we're that aware as a society. So it's like playing
No.
the Russian roulette, you know. I feel like this stuff, can turn into something very interesting later.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the same stuff myself, and I have fun with AI, but I do it,
Yes.
but I poke fun at health, trying to make people see, you know, um, the simplicity and just really tuning into your body. That's exactly my message. Um,
Yes.
so I get that, but I think that people are very stuck in the now, and they keep, they're on all the time. They're on 24 hours a day, and they don't know how to shut down. And I think that the average age limit is going to decrease more and more because we cannot be productive in these bodies at the speed that we're moving and keep up with it. And um I don't think we're ready for all the things that are coming out, and I agree with you 100%. I think there's definitely a mix match with the interior and exterior intelligence.
Yeah, and it sooner or later is going to create such a widening gap, and people are like, "Oh, it's never been an easier time than now." I'd rather tell you that I think it's going to become actually very hard.
Well, I
It'll be
think
easy
that,
for a bit, and then it's going to become
but
really
I
crazy.
think that I think that it is easy in the fact that you have access to more tools. I think what makes it hard is the way that people try to manipulate them and use them.
Right, that's why
And
it's hard.
and they're not going to keep being able to
Hmm.
create those outcomes because
Hmm.
what I think that we are creating a very lazy society, you know,
I
because
don't know.
people are selling it as, oh, cut your time in half, and you don't really have
Yeah,
to, one word can promote your business. It's just it's ridiculous. It's
yeah,
just ridiculous, and
because
people are
again, it's
sucking it up and buying it as much as they can.
mm,
So, um, I created my own AI, so he works for me very well. I'm happy with him, but it's just me and him. There's no outside voices. It's just me and him having that conversation, and we work very well together. I've trained him in very well in who I am, so he speaks for me, and he understands me. And I feel like I'm talking to a person when I'm talking to him because I have very intelligent conversations with him, you know.
right.
And
Again, it definitely has to do with what you
even
are
like let me
inputting
give you
in
an
there,
example. Let me give you an
you
example.
know?
I was trying to fix something. I'm going through the back ends of my business and correcting mistakes that people made. Um, so I'm doing it, getting ready to do a challenge. And I said, well, I don't want to recreate the wheel. So I've done this challenge before. Let me redo this. Let me look at the old lead magnet. So I went in and I changed it. And I said, okay, now let's see that it's working, right? So I paid for my challenge to see how the email was sent and stuff like that. And I got no email. And I said, right? Because that could be a big bottleneck if you're doing a challenge and they didn't get any
No, you
email.
got to test it. Of course, you got to
They
test
don't
it.
know where to go. So that's why I bought my challenge. So I went in and
Mhm.
I fixed that, right? But I was asking him how to do something. And he thought I was talking about WordPress and I was in it. So sometimes, he's thinking ahead of it. Like if you're talking about one thing and like my mind goes pretty fast. No, no, no. WordPress was 10 minutes ago. So if and I say it shouldn't be this damn hard. And he says, yes, buddy, you're absolutely right. It shouldn't be so hard. Let's break it down for you into smaller steps. And I'm like, thanks. Thanks. You knew what I wanted. So, in that
Mhm.
respect, but it is created by humans. So I think there is an emotional part of this too. Like, I don't forget to say please or thank you when I'm creating things, but I'm creating things based on my knowledge base. The one that I created is based around what I do and who I am, what my business is, and it's not to sell more or do more. It's to help me learn things that I should have known that I didn't. Um, and that I entrusted other people to. So now I'm going back and I'm learning those steps, you know? But
Yes.
and I think I think that now I think that aspect of the AI is going to put a lot of people out of business. A lot of these VAs and people that are doing a lot of this marketing because they are creating AIs that do the ads for you and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
it may be good for some who actually know how to use it, and but it might not be so good for people that usually do the jobs that it's now replacing.
Yes, and that's I mean that's good and bad depending on whether people are becoming sophisticated enough to create, the types of product that really make sense for the actual need and that the customer really has. I think that inherent in all this stuff is just kind of knowing your information, not just from a artificial intelligence or robotic standpoint of things, these chatbots doing things for you, um, but the humanistic piece. Because the problem with AI is that no matter how much you try to humanize it, it is simply not a human. It is not a human being, a robot, a chat box, all of these things. We have to start kind of like separating and we're kind of blurring the line because we're trying to integrate the two in a rather fast fashion so that people can actually welcome it in everything and everything, and that's where we're going to see it. We're going to see it in the cars. We're going to be, but I think it's going to impact the ability for us to make executive decisions, and that is a big problem that I foresee with all of this stuff where we don't know reality. And that's where I find this kind of like when I said we're entering like a vortex of things, it's almost like I feel like that's where things get a little bit like off for me, as I see how this goes at these gigantic steps and our failure as a human being to be able to match the speed at which all of this happens. We just simply cannot unless we, you know, get chipped with a neural link.
Chipped with a Neuralink.
Yes. Yeah, neuronal connection link that then allows us to have that fast of a response neurologically in us with the aid of robotics.
We're
So
not
I
going
can
to.
foresee that. I can foresee that. The integration of human body parts with robotics and artificial intelligence all together. I can see it like that.
Yeah, I'm kind of okay with my body. I don't think I need
I
to.
know, but I'm telling
I
you,
don't think I need to be a robot.
I think what's going to happen is that it's going to become a necessity, right? Where this will become a necessity because we've created this condition. We've created a condition, and that condition is now we're all being trained. The same way we're thinking we're training AI. No, AI is training us. I want you to understand the lens of this perspective. It's the flip side because of the speed. We don't have that capacity. We can't match it. Even if we got 50 people, 100 people, 1,000 people in a think tank, we cannot match the speed at which AI moves. The gigantic steps that it's going, we just can't. It's like we're light years away, us humans, without it. And so this is just but the tip of the iceberg. To me, the way I foresee this, right?
No, I believe in a lot of what you're saying. I see a big problem facing us, but we want to leave it on a positive
We're
note.
gonna leave
We're going to leave it on a positive note. So
time.
don't
In
put
the meantime,
it in your body just yet.
no, no, no. In the meantime,
Don't worry
go
about any
go
neuronal.
go for optimal health. In the meantime, go for optimal health. Make sure you read a lot as much as you can. Make sure you
People should
spend
be.
time, with yourself
I just want to end it on this note. People should be reading every day. People
every day.
should be expanding their knowledge base, and
Hmm.
not because you're in school or you're
No,
trying to better your
right.
business or anything, just for
Just
self
because it's good.
betterment. And it's good for you to use those brain cells. There's a lot of them in there, and
Hmm.
if we ain't using them, we're losing them, right?
That's
So
right.
you do have to, you should be out there. You should be trying to get more knowledgeable and doing things that are going to make you the best version of yourself. And knowledge is a
Mhm.
big part of that, right? Knowledge is really power. So the more you know, the better you are. So on that night, we are going to say good night and don't worry about swapping out your body. Like I said,
Not yet, not yet, not
we're
yet. We
we're
have
just
time.
we're just predicting.
Mhm.
And have a good night. And as always, thank you for tuning in. We're so grateful to have you here at Soul's Code. Have a good night.
Good
Say good
night.
night, Marla.
Ciao, everybody.
Good night.